So getting on to the hand 3, we have a 5-10 game, and I pick up Ace Jack of Diamonds, and I'm in the small blind with the hand, and he's nitty overall, but he's very loose on the button. Guy raises on the button, and so a lot of people, it's just pretty standard for people to re-raise like a hand like Ace Jack of Diamonds. You get a guy that opens 70% of the button. You have Ace Jack of Diamonds, and your opponent's range is obviously certainly wide. Why wouldn't you 3-bet? You're ahead of his range, and that's a lot of what I want to talk about. And that's the point, at least the pre-flop part of this hand. That's the point of what I want to talk about, is that this particular opponent, and there's a lot of opponents like this, doesn't call 3-bets very much. He tends to fold or 4-bet, and so presumably he's 4-betting his very good hands and occasionally his air, and he's just folding all of his marginal hands. Like, sounds to me like he's probably folding like King Jack suited there when I raise, and Ace 10 suited and stuff like that. So I decide that I'm essentially turning my hand into a bluff, and my hand has a lot of value post flop, and it has a lot of value just being able to play against a crappy range. And so why would I take Ace Jack of Diamonds and 3-bet it against a guy who never calls the 3-bets? If he doesn't call the 3-bets very much, well then there's not a whole lot of point in 3-betting the hand because it's Ace Jack of Diamonds. I would probably be better off taking hands that have no value, like 8 deuce offsuit, and 3-betting that occasionally against him, because that hand actually has no value post flop. And if I wanted to kind of just re-steal the pot, I should use hands like that to re-steal the pot. But use hands like Ace Jack of Diamonds to play against him post flop against his crappy range, because again, I'm not utilizing the hand if I'm 3-betting it and we're never actually seeing the flop, because if he 4-bets me, I'm not jamming. I'm just going to have to fold. And he's not calling, we know that, so I feel like I should just be playing the pot with him. So anyway, moral of the story, don't 3-bet hands like that if your opponents, unless they have a tendency to call 3-bets. You're better off just playing back at them on a lot of boards post flop. So the flop comes Queen Queen 10, and the big blind folded, by the way. So we've got just a small pot, $50 pot, and so the flop comes Queen Queen 10, and none of my suit, just spade, club, heart, and I just decide that I do have a gutter ball. I've got an overcard. My jack is going to be good a lot on the turn when I'm behind on the flop. And so I decide that, and also his range is so crappy. He has so many 9 deuce suiteds and just like ace rags and king rags and 4-7 suiteds, and just all kinds of just total junk. So I decide that it's a pretty decent kind of board, considering he's not like a big post flop genius or anything that's going to play back at me typically. And so he bets, I checked him, he bets 30, I just tried to check raise 90 to take down the pot. Well, he flatted, and so considering he's normally not too super aggressive, and he's normally not too super, he doesn't try and play back at you in every situation, I kind of decided to shut down here, because I think he is going to have kind of a weak queen a lot. And he also, I'm not really, if I bet the turn and he calls, he might still call with a 10 again on the turn, and he's of course calling with all his trip queens. And so I just felt like the turn bet would have been pretty dicey. I'll take it down sometimes, but I'll just be hopelessly bluffing a lot too. So I just decided to shut down here. And then occasionally, maybe he checks down like King Jack and I can win the pot or something. So he checks back, so on a deuce on the turn, and so now I'm actually thinking that he has a 10, and so I thought maybe he had a hand like Ace 10 didn't want to give it up right away on the flop. Didn't see a whole lot of point in betting the turn because he figures I either have like some total garbage or I have, you know, some better hand that's playing it tricky. And so the river comes a queen. And I check again, but this time I'm checking and I'm going to see what he does because I don't really see any hand he's going to bet here on the river. I don't think he would just bet a 10 because he shouldn't really think that there's anything that can pay him off on that river. And so if he bets, maybe he does have like King Jack or Jack 9 or you know Ace Jack himself or you know, maybe like even some really weird like Jack 8 that, you know, had a gut shot to the, you know, weak end of the straight or something. You never know. The guys will float a lot because they know they can spike the gut shot, but they also know a lot of times you give up and they can take it down. So I checked to him again and he bet 60. And this was really odd for a couple of reasons. One, it's such a small amount to bet as a bluff. You would think a bluff might bet a little bigger. This almost looks like it's like kind of screaming for value a little bit. But at the same time, I can't really find a hand that I am losing to. I don't think he's gonna like. I just don't think he's gonna bet a 10 too much. He might have played like kings or aces this way, but I do have an ace. And you know, I could definitely see him calling the raise and then trying to stay out of trouble on the turn, make sure he doesn't create a big mess for himself, and then maybe look for a little value on the river. But then I thought maybe those hands would go for some more value than just $60. So I kind of ruled those hands out too. And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, I don't understand anything on earth. I'm like, he would play this way that beats me. So I, you know, if he had even jacks, he should go for more value. Maybe a 10 might value bet really big to hopefully like play off the chop or something like that, thinking maybe, you know, I might have a 10 there. So he bet $60 and I was just confused because it was just such a low amount for a bluff, but then why should he be value betting? And it didn't make sense, so I called and he showed ace 9. And I'm just thinking, why wouldn't he just take the showdown with ace 9? Because ace high's got a lot of value there given the way that hand's played out. And so it's just really strange. I don't know what on earth he was thinking. And it just goes to show my read was correct that post flop the guy doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of clue what's going on.